Alright guys, we are going to talk about 4.3, proving triangles congruent by side, side, side. Get your objective down, pause if you need to write. We are going to talk about a shortcut today for proving triangles congruent. That means that you do not have to prove all three angles, match all three angles, and all three sides match all three sides. We are going to go for a shortcut today. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to think about this little situation that I have here. And we want to know, how do you decide if a figure is stable? And if you look at these three figures right here, which one is the strongest? Meaning if you pushed on any one of the corners, it would not bend. And if you notice, the difference is the number of sides and the shapes on the inside. If you take letter A and push on it right here, you could push it over and it would look like that. The harder you push on the left, the top, it would slide over. We would consider that not stable. Between B and C, which one would be the strongest? I'm going to let you think for a second. Pause. And then if you look at it, the difference between the two is that letter B is really made up of two triangles, where letter C is made up of a triangle and then a quadrilateral. If you have only triangles, it turns out that this is the strongest shape. So then if we look at the next question down, it says, why are triangles important? If you have these football players sitting on these benches, one of them is strong, one of them is not as strong. What is the difference? If you look at the bench on the left, you notice you have that support that goes down the middle. The bench on the right does not have a support. The bench on the right, if I pushed on this side right here, the two football players would end up falling, and their bench, they would end up sliding to the side. Bam! They would hit the ground. The next part here, if we're just reviewing our corresponding parts, the corresponding parts right here, notice that the parts that match are in the same place. So if I look here, angle X and angle M are both in the first place. So angle X here is 33 degrees. That means I can put 33 degrees down on the other side. And then angle N, the second one right there, goes in the same place as angle Y, 124. Always the question is, how do you find the missing angle? Don't forget that you have 180 degrees in a triangle, so you can add your 33 and your 124, and then subtract from 180, and that's how you can find the missing angle right there. All right, I'm going to have you skip to page 2. Pause the video for a second. All right, now that you're on page 2, notice that we're going to do a little exploration here. I'm going to have you go to your Chromebook and you're going to look up this website. The website is in Schoology. And you're going to look at some triangles. When you get there, you will choose the 3 buttons that have sides on them. And then you will move the sides to create a triangle. And then you will decide, are the triangles congruent? Question mark. And does it happen every time? Question mark. All right, pause your video, go to Schoology, click on the link, get organized. If you got to the website, you will click, notice that I have clicked the 3 sides right there, A, B, B, C, A, C. It will give you 3 sides. You're going to take those 3 sides and rearrange them. You want to make sure that you connect the vertices that are the same. So A goes with A, B goes with B, C goes with C. The circle in the middle helps move the segment. If you put your pointer on the end of the segment, it will rotate it. So here I have some that I already made. Notice that the arrow is pointing to the S on the corner there, and then you can flip and rotate to see if you can make them line up together and match. When you finish, go back to Schoology, or go back to your notes, and we will finish the video. The things to know. What do I want you to know about this whole thing by the time we're done here? I want you to know that if two triangles have all sides congruent, then the triangles are going to always be congruent. They will always be the same. We call that SSS, side, side, side. So then we are going to look at these triangles that we have down on the bottom and decide if they are congruent by side, side, side. Again, when you look at these triangles, remember all the things that we talked about last week on Friday. Reflexive third angle theorem, all of those things that we can talk about. If I look at question A here, I notice that I have a reflexive side in the middle. I have 1, 2, 3 tick marks on that triangle, and on the other triangle I have 1, 2, and 3 tick marks. These triangles are both the exact same by side, side, side. Yes, they are congruent. If I look at question B, I have this point in the middle, and you might think that it's a midpoint, but it just says that it's a point in the middle. Do you know that these are equal, congruent, question mark? And the answer is no, not if midpoint is written. So are these congruent? We're going to say congruent. No, not enough information. NEI, not enough information. We don't know that those are congruent. Then look at question C. Now it actually says that M is the midpoint of CD and AB. So put your pencil on C, trace all the way to D, and then I know M is the midpoint, so I know that I can put tick marks on those two parts. Then I'm going to look at the other part. It talks about AB. Put your pencil on A, trace all the way to B, and I know M is the midpoint again, so I know now this one is also cut in half. If you look at those two triangles, is there enough to say that they are congruent by side, side, side? And the answer is yes, congruent by side, side, side. You have 3 sides of one triangle congruent to 3 sides of another triangle. Look at question D. Is there enough to say that these two triangles are congruent? We do know that vertical angles make these equal in the middle, but I do not know, question mark, about these sides here. They don't give me any other words, no other markings, so then we say congruent, nope, not enough information. We cannot add any extra tick marks to that picture to make them congruent. The last 2 questions here, letter E, I notice that I have the shared side down the middle. It is the same for both triangles. I have the blue triangle on the top. I have the red triangle on the bottom. Oops, excuse me, the red triangle on the bottom. I notice the blue and the red are both matched up. We have reflexive in the middle. So are they congruent? Yes, they are congruent by side, side, side. Tick marks on all of the sides. The last question that we have here, we want to ask ourselves, are they congruent by side, side, side? Notice that these do not touch. If they don't touch right there, they're not a shared side. That's not reflexive. So they are congruent. Nope. Not enough information. There's no extra marks that we can add to that picture to decide if they are congruent. Now you're going to go to your homework. The homework, it says, is a book page, but I have it printed off for you. Work through that. If you have questions, work with someone else. Please be quiet and respectful, and we will talk more on Wednesday.